Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day I bid to all who are present with us right now. There are a few announcements. First, kindly mute your microphone during the sharing session. Second, if you have any question, please feel free to submit them in the chat box. The question will be answered during the Q&A session. Before we start, I would like to invite Brother Muhammad Izzat bin Muhammad Alias to recite the doa.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين اللهم أنت العزيز الجليل. Praise to be God, the Lord of the worlds. Peace and blessing be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions and for those who follow his example till the judgment day. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, on this blessed evening, in conjunction with the webinar named Career Share, CV Writing, Job Hunting using LinkedIn, and interview preparation, we beseech thee and grateful towards you in favor of all the infinite blessing to us. Your humble servant to live in safe and prosperous life. We seek your blessing for a flawless progress of this event from the beginning till the end. We seek your guidance to steer clear of events that will determine the progress of this event. Ya Dzal Jalal wal Ikram, please bless us with your tawfiq and hidayah. Please guide IIUM to greatness, peace, glory and prosperity in this world and the hereafter. Make us a responsible intellectual, granted us with a valuable knowledge that will be beneficial to mankind in order to gain your mardahillah. Make us your righteous servant that follow your commands and neglect the sinful act. Please forgive us for our wrongdoing. اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل اللهم فينا ولا معنا ولا من يسبقنا شقيا ولا مطرودا ولا محروما اللهم اجعل خير أعمالنا آخره وخير أعمالنا خواتمه وخير أيامنا يوم ألقاك فيه اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amin ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you, Brother Izzat for the doa. Let me introduce myself. My name is Nur Izzat Atira binti Abdul Razak, and I'll be the moderator for today. I would like to welcome all of you to Econ's Career Share, CV Writing, Job Hunting using LinkedIn, and Interview Preparation. Let me introduce our speaker. He is Mr. Amirul Azrai bin Mustadza. He holds the position of HR Business Partner at Premium Oils and Platinum Berhad. For your information, we're going to have 3 sessions. The first session is CV writing, the second one is job hunting using LinkedIn, and the last one is interview preparation. Each session will be open for any question, and before we wrap up, we will have the final Q&A session for any new question. Before we start, I would like to repeat the announcement. Please mute your microphone during the sharing session, and if you have any question, you can submit them in the chat box. Without further ado, I would like to welcome our speaker, Mr. Amirul Azrai, who will share the inputs on the topic for today. Please welcome, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. Let me share screen. Yeah. Okay. Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, boleh.
All right. Okay. Okay. So first of all, I would like to thank everyone, especially the organizer, for inviting me to do sort of career sharing in regards to the topic of CV writing, job hunting using LinkedIn, as well as interview preparation. So, right. So, just to give all of you an overview about myself in terms of my career and my education. I graduated in mechanical engineering from UTP in 2009, and then I pursue the master's degree in mechanical engineering on a part-time basis with UTM KL, which I completed in 2012. At the same time, I work as a piping design engineer. The same time, I graduated with a master's of mechanical engineering. Somehow I couldn't find, I would say, job satisfaction or happiness with the things that I'm doing back then, and then I decided to pursue a career change. Then I joined Sapura Energy Berhad as one of the executive assistant to the SVP, and then when I moved my career to change slightly to management role, I realized that I'm lacking a lot in terms of the fundamental of business and management. That is when I decided to pursue another master's degree in doing MBA in Brunel Business School, Brunel University London, which I completed in 2014. So and then I'm back in Malaysia around end of 2014 and assumed the role of HR with Pura Energy. Before then, I moved to another smaller company just to expand and widen my job scope before I joined another company called Pure Circle and climb up the career until senior HR manager. I left the company last year, and then I joined another MNC, Premium Oils and Fats in Berhad. And I recently have also resigned last month and about to start my new work this coming week, tomorrow. Okay, so that's about it in terms of my career and my education. And in terms of setting the credibility, I've done I think tens of if not hundreds, tens of workshops, public training and training to university students, either online or physical training for the past 6 years. I have also coached at least hundreds of experienced professionals throughout the past 6 years. Okay. Right. So let's start with our session outline. I have agreed with the organizer to conduct this session into 3 sessions. First session will be on CV writing. Second session will be on LinkedIn, particularly on job hunting using LinkedIn. And then third session will be interview preparation. So normally when it comes to this kind of outline, session outline or agenda, normally I will need about a day, but I will try to compress and condense it and impart the knowledge as much as possible for the next 2 hours. Okay. Alright, so let's begin. Let's begin dengan session 1 on CV writing. Okay. I continue to see people coming in. Should I wait or I can continue? Organizer?
You can continue.
Okay, alright. Okay, because I continue to see people coming in. Okay. Alright, so session 1 will be on CV writing. So let's start with the basic knowledge. The fundamental, what it means by resume and CV. So then this knowledge I pick up when I went to Brunel Business School because when I did my MBA, our MBA students have a specific career coach being assigned to us, and he is one of the well-known career coach back then in the UK, in London specifically. So basically from there, I realized that there's a difference between resume and CV. So basically, resume is something that is normally about one page long. There's no specific specific format or order, and you only put specific relevant information for the position you applied. So normally resume is widely used in America continent. Okay, as for the CV, normally it is more lengthy, about 2 to 4 pages, and you will see that CV is being formatted in the way that you will list out all your latest experience and qualifications, as well as you put all the information in reverse chronological order. So this is the basic fundamental about resume versus CV. Okay, this is just to impart the knowledge. So basically, kalau if all of you later graduate ataupun pergi do your internship or going for looking for job, you will see that people use or ask for resume or CV either way. So I think in Malaysia, people use resume and CV ni interchangeably. So when people ask you resume or CV, based on my experience, normally from what I understand or from what I observe, because being an HR and last time being a job hunter, I think when they say either resume or CV, they actually referring to CV, because the documents that you normally find in the job market from the candidates are at least 2 to 4 pages long. Okay, alright. So the focus of today akan on CV writing. So I will give you the theory and then try to see how to impart the knowledge in terms of putting it into practical lah. Okay. So for me, again, I think CV writing, there's no such thing as this is the only way of doing it. This is the correct way. So I believe that I personally, throughout 12 years of working, I've met at least few so-called career guru or CV guru, and from each one of them, I'll pick up something that I think useful and relevant to what I'm presenting to all of you today. So for me, CV should be kept simple. Most of the time, I prefer to keep my CV just black and white to allow easy view and read. Some people argue that why don't we make it colorful? Sorry, so some people some people argue that they want to make it colorful, but for me, there's no necessary to make it too colorful, because what you need is just to make sure that you have a CV that is easier to view and read. Okay, and then 2 pages. A good CV should be 2 pages, and we should use the space effectively. Okay, and then lastly, again, like I mentioned, in each section it should be in reverse chronological order. Okay, that's about CV. So CV, for me, you should use the section in the summary to tell a story that showcase the best about you. Because what I have normally encountered, not just from fresh graduate or people who are doing internship, they only put either career objective that is only 1 liner or 2 lines that they just copy paste from their friend or they copy paste from internet. But I think the section on the first half of the first page, you should have a summary. Later I'll explain what needs to be there in the summary. What needs to be there in the summary? What needs to be there in the summary? Sorry, just give me a moment. Nazif, boleh tolong tak?
Nazif will try.
Yeah. So No, kena letak air, lalukan bawah air. So, sorry. So, you can use the section of summary to tell a great story about yourself. Later, I will explain a little bit more how to do this. And then, CV should be a document that really highlight your strengths and achievements, so that people who review it will find it attractive. And then when you want to write a CV, make sure you write it concisely. This also something that I will explain shortly after this. Okay, so based on my experience, CV for experienced professionals, for fresh graduates, and for internship, I've made a list of what are the things that are compulsory and what are the things that optional. So just to impart knowledge, because this is something that you can use not just for today, but you can use it even after graduation. So I'm just explaining to you quickly for experienced professional before we focusing on the fresh graduate. So normally for experienced professional, what people are looking for is basically the experience. So that's why I put the first one is the heading, and then followed by summary, and then immediately after summary is the experience, followed by educations. And then after that, there are other things like certifications. When I mention certifications, it's about professional certification. For example, when you become a professional, like engineer, you become a professional engineer with a title IR. That is for me something that is relevant to certification. Or when you are a project management professionals, you need to sit down for exams that certify you as a project management professional. That is certification. Professional affiliations, on the other hand, is when you become a member of any body or organization. Like for example, me, HR, one of the professional affiliation is Society of HR Management. And then there are also other things like courses. When I mention courses, it is more like training that you are attending. Like today can be regarded as a course, or a training. If you are attending any courses that is relevant to the job that you are applying or to your career, you can list it down. And then you can also mention your skills, either computer skills, and also your interpersonal or job related training, job related skills. Okay. And then the last 3 points, normally if you have additional space that are not utilized, you can also include extracurricular activities, as well as additional information. Additional information is normally you put your languages that you know, and also you put availability for people to hire you, and lastly you put referees. Okay, this is the layout in terms of CV. What are the sequence or what are the sections for experienced professional? So for fresh graduates, and I think this is of your particular interest. So you can see that there are additional stuff in this sequence. So it start with heading as well, and then there will be a summary, and then instead of experience, you put education, and then if you have experience during internship or part-time, you can include as well. And then you can put your dissertation or thesis, followed by relevant coursework. Is different from courses. Relevant coursework means the subjects that you have taken that you think is relevant to the jobs that you are applying. So you might list 5 to 10 coursework for in this section. I have explained about certification, professional affiliations, courses, skills. I have also explained. What else? Skills. Yeah, the rest I have explained. So in here, the additional sections that you can include, although it is optional, on the dissertation, thesis, and relevant coursework. Some people also ask whether you can include other things like awards. You can also include sections under awards. If you have received the list, or you have received scholarships, or you receive any awards from states or Malaysia government, something like that. Okay. All right, and lastly is the CV for internship. This again will might be useful to you when you are applying for internship later. So how it differs, I just changed a little bit in terms of sequence based on my experience. Reviewing CV for internship. So for me, it start with heading again, followed by summary, and then there's education, and then for me relevant coursework, and then extracurricular activities. Because as an individual or as a student, you do not have, most likely you do not have experience unless after SPM you work part time, or during your semester break in your first year or second year you also did part time, okay, do part time jobs. And then the rest are also still the same in terms of experience, certification, professional affiliations, courses, skills, additional info, and referees. Okay. All right. So this is about layout. So far, it's about just imparting you the knowledge. So let's go and have a bit of practical in terms of what I have mentioned just now. So for me, let's start with heading. Okay, heading is where for me, based on my experience again, based on my experience again, normally these are the information that you can include in the heading of your CV. Although I have put here 10 items or 10 things, normally things that are mandatory ataupun compulsory is only your name, your mobile number, your name, your mobile number, your email address, your LinkedIn, and that's all. So the rest, like nationality, your IC number, so things like nationality, IC number, age, gender, marital status, address, and as well as photo. For me, these are the optional items. Whether you want to include or not in your heading, it is really up to you. But the one that is compulsory is your name, your mobile number, your email address, and your LinkedIn. Right? So based on this is how I structure my heading in my CV. I put my name clearly on top, and then I structure it exactly like what I showed in the slides presentation just now. Nationality Malaysian, my IC number, my age, my gender, and my marital status. And then I also include my primary mobile number, my primary email address, and then my LinkedIn profile URL, which I have customized so that public can easily find me on LinkedIn, as well as my address, okay, and my passport photo. Because based on my experience, I think these are, I would say, optimum information that normally HR or recruiter would like to see or have when they are looking at your heading. Okay, but like I said, the one that are really mandatory adalah mobile, email address, and LinkedIn. The rest are optional. Okay. So I'll move on to, I'll finish this session first, and then I'll take questions from audience once this session is finished. So moving on, after heading, like I said, when we receive CV, so you just try to, close your eyes, tapi jangan tidur, close your eyes and visualize and imagine, when you send CV to other people, when they click open or view in PDF, what will appear is the first half of the first page, right? So this is the opportunity for you to grab the attention of the recruiter or hiring manager. And based on study, based on articles, you only have about 6 to 15 seconds of the recruiter or hiring manager attention span. You can only they only pay attention, 6 to 15 seconds is the important crucial time whereby they will focus in terms of finding looking into your CV or resume. So the first half of the first page of your document is very important. So normally what they should see is your heading and also your summary. Okay, for summary, there are 6 components that you should try to include in your summary. They are basically in no particular order. You should include your career objective, your relevant experience, your summary of qualifications, your career achievements, or for students maybe instead of career you can put your study achievement or your personal achievement so far in being it in your study or in your personal life. And then last second point is work or management style as well as personal traits. When I mention personal traits, it is about your strengths. Okay, so these are the 6 components that you should try to include in your summary. Okay, this is where where we will start to look into the practical of it. All right. So I'm sharing with you the sample summary of my own CV. Okay, and we can go through it together for you to see how I did it. So, a driven and motivated HR professional with more than 10 years professional experience, including 4 years in HR managerial roles. So, kalau you tengok the color coded, this is work or management style and relevant experience. So, that's how. So, the way you should write summary, it should be in a paragraph format. Of which in your CV or in your resume or CV, the best way to write summary, it should have all the 6 elements just now, and it should be written in about 6 to I would say around 18 lines, but optimally it will be about 10 to 12 lines. 12 lines, I find it quite optimum because and then the font type and the font size should be around about Arial or Calibri 10. Okay, so coming back to this summary. So and then here I quickly sum up my qualification. I mentioned that I'm a double master degree holder with MBA from Brunel and engineering from UTM, and then I also then quickly walk them through my experience. Okay, so I mentioned about so ni color coded dia saya ni is my experience. Okay, so I mentioned about my work and whatnot, and then I continue to mention about my work, and here a natural born leader is where I include some sort of personal traits and also my work style, and then I quickly talk about again with whom my experience again. Okay, and then I followed by mentioning about my achievements in my career, particularly in this role. And then at the end of the day, at the end of it, I sum up again the whole thing, and then by saying that, just to recap, that I have a sound HR technical knowledge, and then with a good academic background and my social intelligence, and then I quickly put my career objective. Okay, so this is a sample summary of myself. Okay, how does and how this thing relates to you adalah this is the challenge that I think many fresh graduates, students or people who are seeking for internship or even fresh graduates are facing. They think that they do not have anything much to explain or to put in the summary. But then again, you need to start thinking in terms of relevant experience. It doesn't have to be your career experience, it can be about your experience for example, things like this. You organize event. When you organize event, there's a lot of skills that you pick up: how to coordinate, how to communicate, how to deal with the speaker, how to deal with the lecturer, how to coordinate and make sure things are in order. So there are a lot of things that you can learn, even it is not a job, but it is like a project stuff. Things like events or even projects that you might take up during your study. So that can be included in experience. But most important that you need to understand, summary is not just something that you put explaining about historical stuff. It should really being ditulis. You write summary to really showcase the best about you, because you know people always say that, if you take a coin, there's always, people say that there's two sides of the story, or two sides of the coins, right? So there's always there are many ways you can actually deliver your story, and it is based on what do you want the audience to know about you. Okay, so for example, the summary that you see here is more on a summary of a HR person. But just imagine back then, when I started my career as engineer, when I applied for jobs, I do not have this kind of summary, right? So my summary back then when I was an engineer is really focusing on engineering stuff, particularly like me back then, piping engineering. So it really focused on piping engineering. So that's why what I'm saying is that summary is the section that you can really use to really tell the story about yourself, and you should use summary to woo the person who read it, and dengan hanya membaca summary, people can easily have already about 80-90% of idea about whether this person is a good fit, or should be considered to be called for interview ataupun tak. So that's the purpose of summary. Okay, next. Next, in the CV section, normally what's important is your experience and significant accomplishment. So experience should be written in the format that showcase your knowledge, skills and abilities, as well as other characteristics. So your experience should be written that show achievements, outcomes or results. And then there's a formula to write your experience and significant accomplishment using the formula of verbs, subjects and outcomes. This formula is something that I learned and I pick up I think about 4 years back, that when we want to write something, this is I pick up from a HR course called job analysis writing. So when you try to explain something, you need to have the verbs, the action words, followed by what are the subjects or the tasks, and followed by the outcomes. All right. I will give you an example now. Okay, this is my sample of experience and significant accomplishment. So let's take a look at the bullet point number 5 here. Okay, the verbs. If you remember, the formula is verbs. So verbs here adalah managing and facilitating. These two are the verbs. Expatriate management processes, including application, renewal and termination of work permit for all expatriates and their dependents, are the subjects. And then outcomes adalah to ensure they can continue to work and reside legally in Malaysia. So ini adalah the way you should write your experience. The same thing. So in summary, just now you have main accomplishment. Here in each role, it is good if you can also include significant accomplishment or significant achievements for that particular role. So for me, I choose 2 significant accomplishment, which also being written in the same using the same formula and format. So if you see here, the verbs adalah reducing, and the subjects is the cost of employee benefits program in Malaysia by implementing creative changes using data analysis to support the decision. So and then the outcome, while continuing to provide the benefits without jeopardizing the well-being of employees, right? So when you want to write experience and significant accomplishment, you need to really think about what are the things that you want to put in your experience and in your accomplishment, and you need to start having to structure it. Think about what are the stuff that you want to write. Okay. This is on experience and significant accomplishment in your CV. And then next, in terms of education, for me, in terms of reverse chronological order, you should put the highest is either your PhD or masters or your degree, and the lowest can be your qualification, SPM. And then this is how I do it. In my CV, I mentioned about my masters, my 2 master's degree, but in terms of reverse chronological order. So it started with the most recent, followed by the second one, and then followed by my degree, and then I put my SPM. But I skip my metric anyway here. Okay. So that is about education. So the rest of the CV, I think is quite straightforward. Shortly after this, I can share a CV of a fresh graduate as well to you, so that you can have a better idea. Before before the Q&A session, I will share with you one sample, so that you can have a view of what I mean by whatever that I presented earlier. Okay. So for me, the tips to write CV, a good CV, or I call CV power, you should use modern font like Arial, Calibri, and the way you want to structure it, use bullet points instead of numbering, because I've seen a lot of CV that use numbering, because numbering can easily create confusion. For example, let's say instead of you if you put numbering here, it can it can create easy confusion for the readers. So normally I just put bullet points. Again, this is the knowledge I pick up when I from the career coach in the UK. Okay. So other tips, always use keywords, use verbs, action words, and keywords. And then and the way you should structure your CV, always about most recent first, and then if you have any older info, you can always compress it and make it concise. And then based on my experience, CV should be updated regularly. My suggestion is to update CV every quarter, or at least every half yearly. You should do something to update your CV. Again, I believe your journey is still far, but just sharing my experience throughout pandemic. I think I've at least encountered 2 recession, or 2 economic recession, and I think this is one of the worst we have encountered so far. The struggle that people have if they do not update their CV regularly is that when they are being retrenched or being laid off, then only they will start to put effort to update it. But you just imagine, I've seen people with 10 years of experience trying to update their 10 years of experience within shortest time, because they really need to get the next job. So it's not a pleasant way of updating your CV. So CV should be updated regularly. My suggestion is on a quarterly basis. Okay. So we are about to go to the end of our session. So if you only remember one thing from today's from this particular session, remember to highlight your strengths and achievement on the first half of your CV. Through a good heading and a good summary, so that you make it attractive, and people who receive it will literally will find it very impressive. Okay. So before I move to the Q&A session, I'll just like to share a quick overview of a CV of a fresh graduate, so that at least you can have an idea about what I mean. So this is a CV of one of my coachee. Alhamdulillah, she already got a job. dia duduk Johor but already got a job in Penang. So this month is her second month, if I'm not mistaken. So you can see that, you know, for a fresh graduate, this is how she, okay. So this is what I mean, the first half of the first page. So kalau you tengok, yeah, if you see this, the first half of the first page, this is what I mean by the first half of the first page. Right, when we view CV, we will view the first half of the first page like this. So you just imagine the 6 to 15 seconds that recruiter and hiring manager will spend. If you have a very a heading that is condensed and written concisely, the same for summary, so they don't have to really, you know, walk through your CV that sometimes about 4 pages, 6 pages, 8 pages. Just by having by taking a look at this, they can already find what are the things that you have done so far in your life. Okay, so like this lady, how she writes her summary, she write it in the way that, you know, he mentioned a highly committed, optimistic, enthusiastic young microbiologist who strives to be a jack of all trades. She successfully graduated with a first-class honors of Bachelor Science Microbiology from UM. 3.5 years diving into the microbiology world of study, she embarked into diagnostic and public health areas as an intern for 3 months at PPUKM, you know, which centers on tasks related to patient sample testing. With her excellent performance in final year project, which focuses on food microbiology and NGS, she was able to put forth the importance of the breakthroughs to the scientists in assessing other means in detecting pathogens rapidly and more cost efficient. Then upon graduating with flying colors, she was immediately recruited by Biochem, blah, 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 as an assistant microbiologist. And then she summed up, considering the passion and ambition with great adaptability in a new environment, she strongly believed that with a right platform and exposure, she could fulfill her potential to go extra mile in mastering skills needed for a positive contribution. So she made the summary quite general, which is fine for this particular point of time. Okay, so this is a sample of a CV of a fresh graduate, how it is being structured. So again, in experience, she really understand what I mentioned. So she, if you see the previous CV is totally different, but now I think her CV is very good in terms of, for example, here, perform is the verbs followed by the subject, and then the outcomes is to meet the department demands, you know. So all of her experience, including significant accomplishment, have been written in the format of verbs followed by subjects followed by outcomes. And then she put her education, and then even this dissertation, she took time to explain about the scope of work, also in the format of verbs followed by the subjects, you know. And then and also, you know, and also she includes the outcomes to many of them, you know. For example, recording is the verbs followed by the subjects, and then the outcome is to keep track on the research progress. Okay, and then she mentioned her extracurricular activities, and then her so here is not certifications, this is more on awards, so I have asked her to change to awards. And then skills, she mentioned the skills that she has, and then the languages, and then 2 referees of her lecturer. So this is a very good CV, and it is proven because quickly after completing her study, she because she completed her internship in January this year, and then quickly after that, last month she already started working, you know. So it only took her about 1 or 2 months, but definitely 1 month after coaching with me. Okay, so this is the sample of the CV. So going back to the presentation, I think my time is now about 3:20. We have 1 hour and 10 minutes to go. So I will open for Q&A session for this first session. If you have any questions so far.
So from the chat box, there are 2 persons have asked some question. The first question is from Nazif. Does the CV or resume has to be thick?
Sorry?
Does the CV or resume has to be thick?
To be thick? No, no, no. A good CV should only be about 2 pages. You ask thick, right? THICK.
Yes.
No. A good summary. Okay. You have to understand this. HR and recruiter, especially recruiter, they spend day in day out reviewing CV. So normally when you just I'm not going to lie, but doing that is a very mundane job. It's a very mundane task. So you do not have much time spent in terms to focus if the candidate submit thick documents.
Later
Sorry, sekejap.
can we swim
Yeah, sure. Come, sure. Okay, sorry. So basically, resume or CV doesn't have to be thick. Optimally, it should be 2 pages. I myself, with 12 years of working experience, only use a CV of 2 pages. I can give you example. Wait, just give me a moment. This is my it. Okay. So this is my CV of my 12 years of working experience, but this is about 12 years ago. So my experience, and then my older. Remember I mentioned just now, older information you should compress, and this is how I compress. Rather than putting it in bullet points, I just give it summary of my previous roles, right? Okay. Then my education, my certification, my professional affiliations, my courses that are relevant to my job, and my referees. That's all. Okay. Next questions.
The second question, should the summary be written in third person as he or she or first person?
Okay. So
As
again, okay, understand. So third voice or first voice of third person, first person. Again, there's a lot of debate on that on the internet. But I personally prefer to use third voice because third person, because when you send out when you send your CV to other people is the one who's reading it, and when they are reading it as a third person, I find that is more more I think more polite and more easier for people to comprehend it. That's my personal view, and that's why I always use third person voice in writing my summary. Okay.
Okay. And maybe the last for this session.
Okay.
Nowadays, many students start to join business online, right? So maybe as dropship or agent. So with that experience, can we include it in the experience part in the CV for maybe internship or
No, no,
anything?
no. You should include it in your experience, but you need to really able to write the kind of experience. For example, if you do online business, what are the things that you pick up? What are the things that you do? So you need again to structure it in the format of verbs followed by subjects followed by outcomes. Because in doing online business, there's a lot of things you need to do. You need to plan your resources. You need to monitor you need to track for example your product or your stocks. You need to track your ataupun monitor you punya cash flow. You need to promote it. So there's a lot of activities involved when you are doing online business. Okay. So that's, yeah. Okay. Any other questions, or should we move to second session?
Maybe I'll move to the next session.
Okay, all right. Okay. So we have finished the first session, and I have also give you the overview and share you some, at least 2 samples. One of my coachee and my CV myself, so you have a better idea. But and I just want to recap, again, there's nothing right or wrong in terms of how or the way you write your CV. But based on my experience, I find that the way I write my CV and I structure my CV works, because I've trained and I've delivered programs to at least thousands of people, and I have coached hundreds of people. And also, I myself continue to learn from the recruitment agency or recruitment consultant that I deal with. So if you have any other way better to write your CV, that is the thing that I also would like to learn from all of you as well. Okay, so let's move to the next session. So the next session will be on job hunting using LinkedIn. Before I start, may I know from ada berapa orang kita ni? From 58 participants in this group, in this room, can a few of you who already have LinkedIn account can say yes that you already have a LinkedIn account?
Yes.
Anyone else?
Me too. I
Alright.
have one, yeah.
Alright, baru 2. Kalau dengar dah ada 5, I assume dah 10% kira dah okay lah. Another 3. Anyone else?
Me.
Okay. Another 2. Anyone else? I just want to gauge your familiarity with LinkedIn, whether many in this group have LinkedIn ataupun tak. Anyone else? Ada 3 orang je from 58 in this group, in this session yang ada LinkedIn.
There's another one from live chat.
Okay.
Live chat from YouTube.
Okay. Alright. Okay. Alright. So I think at least some of you already have LinkedIn and maybe familiar a bit. But what I'm going to do in this session adalah I will walk you through on the important part or important stuff to create and make sure your LinkedIn reach the what it is called all-star profile. Okay, and then after that I will show how then you can use LinkedIn to job hunting. All right, so to begin with, why LinkedIn is important? LinkedIn is important because you can gain exposure to hiring managers and.
Sorry. Can you Mr. Farooq give my spoon?
Okay, will do. Okay. So why LinkedIn is important? Sorry anak saya kacau sikit. So why LinkedIn is important is to gain exposure to hiring managers and recruiters. And then you want to demonstrate your knowledge and experience. You can use LinkedIn to demonstrate your knowledge and experience. Because like me, I started to share about career stuff on LinkedIn, and that's how slowly create credibility about about myself. And that is when I start to get followers on LinkedIn, which already now reach about 70,000 followers on LinkedIn. Okay. So it is related to point number 3, build and boost your credibility. And then you can use, particularly for all of you, to access to jobs through job board and job postings. And then you can gain social proof for your skills and talents. And then you can use also to follow companies. And you can also use LinkedIn to add and follow people like hiring managers, recruiters, influencers, and so on. Okay. And then just to give you LinkedIn stats ataupun LinkedIn statistic for 2020, LinkedIn now has more than 660 million members globally, with 5 million members in Malaysia. So if you take Malaysia population of about 30 million plus, so 1/6, 1/6 daripada rakyat Malaysia ada LinkedIn dah. As compared to when I did my MBA in UK, back then only 2 to 3 million. About 1/10 of our population ada LinkedIn. Okay, so the rest, LinkedIn is the most used social media platform amongst Fortune 500 companies. Makes sense because on LinkedIn adalah all the job hunters, people are there. So it makes sense for companies to be there and use LinkedIn the most, particularly for Fortune 500 companies. And then what the rest, you can see that there are many LinkedIn users are also already on LinkedIn, and many of them, some of them are millennials, and some of them are already at a decision making position, which means as a millennials, you want to be on LinkedIn because you want to connect with people who are already reached certain level of making decisions in the company. Okay, so what I will do in this session, I will walk you through what I will call LinkedIn guidance, just to give you a quick overview what you need to do when you create and set up your account. So for me, there are 10 steps that you should do. You should choose the right profile picture for LinkedIn, and then you should add a background photo. You should make your headline more than just a job title, and then you can customize your profile URL. Okay, so I'm taking example of the organizer of my previous event in UTP by the name of Gianna Marina. Choose the right profile picture. I think her profile picture is decent, but normally for LinkedIn, you want to show it slightly bigger, so that you only show half. Kalau macam ni gambar dia, so normally you akan jap saya pakai. So normally you want to show around this area je, up to this level je. Yeah, so you muka akan lagi senang for people to see and recognize. Okay, later we can see some sample on LinkedIn. So and then add a background photo, and I think Gianna make it interesting, when dia buat macam ni, dia letak nama, apa dia punya degree, and then her email address, university email address, so that it makes sense for an internship seeker to give this information as a background photo, which I think people might find this easier for anyone who might wants to contact her, although they are not her first connection, so it'll be easier. And then you can also customize your public profile URL. This is something that I will show you later, why it is important to customize your public profile URL. So if you see here, make headline more than just a job title. So for Gianna, I think this is an okay headline. Internship seeker May December, bachelor in business management, majoring in business analytics. For me, this is already okay, already fine. Okay, because sometimes the worst you will see sometimes people put as unemployed, so that's not the way of writing a headline lah. Okay, so the next one, again, I have emphasized the importance of summary. So again, on LinkedIn, you can also include a summary at the section called about. I just share the section, the summary of my previous VP of HR called Amber Dosi. Important things to note in this adalah, for summary on LinkedIn, you can make it slightly more casual, and you can make it either third voice or first person or third person. And if you see the way she wrote her summary, dia lebih it is more casual as compared to how I wrote my summary, right? So you can make your summary into a more leisure, and a story that you can share with people. Okay, so that's number 5, about, or summary section about. And then recently, LinkedIn has introduced a section called featured, so that you can showcase your work. So you can either post, you can include your posts, or you can include your articles, or you can include links to website, or you can even also upload any media like your presentation, your something. Okay, so like me, I've shown 4 featured, 4 things that I featured here. First is the articles that I wrote, that I wrote about my journey when I choose not to continue with my engineering job, and then I was interviewed to explain from mechanical engineering to human resource by taking MBA. So I share a link. This is the startup that I work on. We are the top 10 winner. So I also include, and then our story is also being featured by Vulcan Post. So I also share the link to that story. Okay. Next. Next. Then next is about writing your experience again concisely. So you among the things that you should do, you should link your job to the company. So like again, I take Embedosi as an example. So she linked it to our previous company, Pure Circle, and then start with an overview. She give a quick overview, and then use verbs or action words. So she's using, if you see here, selecting, redesigning, advising, developing, launching, designing. Those are all the verbs or action words. And then use keywords. You know, she used many keywords in her summary, like HRIS, HR information system, remuneration, again remuneration, code of conduct, performance management system. So those are the keywords. And then make sure you use the correct tense. So using all this, ing, is definitely the correct tense. And then you front load your achievements, means you read front load, meaning you quickly mention whatever that you are doing. Front load your achievements is like this: launching the first ever technology enabled performance management system. So that's tapi kalau kalau nak improve, for example, if you take this, launching is the verbs, the first ever technology enabled performance management system adalah the subject, tapi tak ada outcomes. So that's how you can further improve it as well. Okay. And then always check for spelling and grammar error. And then lastly, you can also use LinkedIn for each role to add any supporting materials or supporting information. Okay. And then number 8, include your education. You can include, like me, I listed out 4 exactly like as per my CV. I mentioned my MBA, my master degree mechanical engineering, my bachelor degree mechanical engineering, and my schooling. Okay, and then next, you can also use LinkedIn to list your relevant skills, and then at the same time you can give endorsement and can manage endorsement. Skills adalah this kind of thing: compensation and benefits, employee benefits design, workforce planning, and then there's also LinkedIn has started to categorize it, for example, into tools and technologies. So HRIS, Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Excel, they categorize it under tools and technologies. And then they also categorize the skills that are under industry knowledge. So like HR transformation, project management, online research, performance management under industry knowledge. And then interpersonal skills, organizational development, management, leadership, talent management, they categorize it as an interpersonal. And then lastly, adalah you can also use LinkedIn to give and request a recommendation. By giving recommendation, most likely you will also receive recommendation. So rather than ask for recommendation, you should first give, and then only then people would like to give you recommendation as well. By having recommendation, you will continue to allow people to assess you and to see your credibility for any particular things. So in here, I have 2 people. One is my coachee that talk about my coaching session. And then I also my previous subordinates who talked about me. So this is how you can establish yourself and credibility on LinkedIn, by having recommendation. Okay, so all these 10 steps that I mentioned is important for you to do and complete, so that you will establish or have a profile that is called all-star profile. Later I will show you. So next adalah on LinkedIn, basically how you can job hunting using LinkedIn. There's a search function. So for example, this morning I quickly do a search function as a finance executive in Malaysia, but I do not put any other filter. But you can apply any other filter. There are many filters, but I didn't put. So you can see by searching finance executive at the search function, and then by selecting jobs, there are 955 results. So that appear on LinkedIn, then you can start finding then you can, you can always filter by experience level. Kalau you fresh graduate, filter by experience level, and there are many other way you can filter. Okay. So secondly, that is using a search function. That's also if you see dekat sini ada bentuk macam briefcase kan. So you can also click at the symbol of briefcase tu, then you will come to another page that will list out, for example, whatever job that you have applied, whatever job alerts that you have set up, the skill assessment, and there are many more. So, and then you can search your next job by, for example, title, skill, or company. And then you can also search, further refine the search by location, either by entering the zip code or the postal code or the city, the state. Okay, this is the second way you can hunt jobs using LinkedIn. All right. Later I'll go back to the LinkedIn on the real LinkedIn just to give you a more idea. So let's say once you have find a suitable jobs and you want to send out application, I will also share with you on how to go about it. Okay, so cover letter, or what it is called email cover letter, you need to write it in the sense that what's the purpose of you sending the email. Because most of the time, the mistake that I've seen from internship or students or fresh graduates, they just send CV, just merely the CV only, without having the subject and the body content. They just simply send the CV. So that's not the way of doing it. So you should have a subject, and then in the body content, you should have all of this: the purpose of sending the email, how you find the job. So, and then you give a little brief about your educational background and professional qualification. You can write a brief about your work or your experience, if it is not a working experience, your experience throughout your study. And then purpose of you looking for jobs, let's say if you just graduated and you are looking for your first job, or you are looking, for me, I'm looking for something to expand my role. You can also write about that, and then mention your ability to attend interview if being shortlisted. So this is I'm sharing you the example of how I normally write my email cover letter or my email application. So this is the subject, and then I quickly address the person punya nama, and then I mention I would like to apply by for what role, and then I give a brief introduction about my qualification, my experience, and then I told the person that I enclose my CV for reference, and then I give my availability and how they can contact me, and then I finish by saying thank you and put my name and again my signature and my link to my LinkedIn profile. So that's how I do it when it comes to job hunting and job application through email. Job hunting through LinkedIn, job application through email. Right. So these are the resources that you can use. I'm a big fan of the Muse. And also Harvard Business Review, and also back then I also wrote a few articles on the Vocab, which you can also refer. Okay, so before I open to Q&A session, I would like to share with you on my LinkedIn. So here is my LinkedIn. So like I mentioned to you just now, this is my profile. Okay, if you see my slides earlier, I mentioned about I want you to really do this. Number 4 is where you can customize public profile, and I'm going to show you 2 ways how you can customize your private profile. So on your profile, if you see here, you can click edit. You will go to the next page, and it will tell you edit your custom URL. So you can click this, and it will allow you to edit. So for example, I put Nazif. Okay. All right. I can do that, but I won't save. All right. But so this is how you can customize and personalize. And then once you have done that, you can quickly click me. then it will bring you back to your profile. Okay, and by now you can see that it is customized as per this. That is the easiest way to edit and customize your LinkedIn profile. Why you need to customize? Because I think it will make it looks nice when you include it on your heading, in your heading here, because if not, you will have a very alphanumerical lengthy URL that is not personalized and customized. All right. Secondly, you can also do the cara panjang sikit adalah dengan klik this pen button, and then it will show tell you about edit intro. You go down, there's a contact info, this you can click the pen and you can still edit. And then profile URL, if you click this, it will still bring you to the same page, tapi cara panjang sikit. So what you can do, rather than going through all this hassle, what you can do, you can immediately skip and just click edit public profile URL. Okay, if you follow my steps, you will reach the status of all-star profile, which you can see here. So you need to make sure your LinkedIn profile, your LinkedIn profile is as much as complete as possible as per what I mentioned just now. And then now I'm going to show you the two ways you can job hunting using LinkedIn. So if you see here, I mentioned that you can use the search function. So I will show you here. Here, if you go back to the feed or the home, there's a search function. So for example, you can search, for example, you search, just now I searched finance. Let's say I search account, ataupun I search account executive, for example. Okay. So when I search account executive, there's a job so that, but you can also, you can search account executive, but for us, we are particularly interested with the jobs, but we can also search for other things like people. So you will list out all people with the title of account executive. You can also search again like posts or companies, but what I will do, I will just focus on jobs. So there are many ways you can further filter. So I will show you all filters. So this is how you can filter by most recent or most relevant, anytime, past month, past week, past 24 hours. And then experience level, it can be internship, entry level. So normally the way this structure is basically dia follow format macam dekat overseas. Internship, entry level ni junior level, fresh graduate, associate ni bila you dah ada experience sikit, mid senior level ni bila dah jadi manager, ini normally director, GM punya level, and executive ni adalah C-suite lah. Dia terbalik dengan Malaysia. Malaysia executive ni macam kita punya junior executive, senior executive, but executive here means C-suite executive, the CEO, CFO dan sebagainya. And then you can also filter by company, you can filter by job type, you can filter by whether whether it is easy apply. You can filter by location, industry, job function, title, and many more. And you can also, for example, filter for applications ataupun jobs with under 10 applicants, meaning maybe people are not many people are applying, or not many people aware of the job. For example, I click under 10 applicants. So these are the jobs that have under 10 application. So applicants. So you can see here, job dah post for 1 week tapi baru ada 8 applicants. So maybe this kind of jobs you can really stand a chance, but to get it, because the applicants sangat sikit, 3 applicants. So that's how you use the function on LinkedIn. Okay, 5 applicants, 3 applicants. Okay, alright. Itu the first function. So I'll go back to the feed. You can also see the briefcase icon. If you search, if you click, then you can start having, you can again start search. again, it will go back to the same. So it depends on you how you want to go about it, but it will still go to the same thing. But here, you know, you can set up your job alerts, you know. See, this is how I set up my job alerts. Okay, and then you can also view the jobs that you have applied. So it can be a posted job, your jobs, and your saved post. Okay, and then there's also other stuff that you can explore, in terms of all the settings that you can explore. Okay, so it's already 3:50. I will now open the session for Q&A for about 5-10 minutes before we move to the next topic for another 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Any questions? You kacau bamba. Anyone? Sorry. Any questions from organizer or from the chat? Okay. Tak ada. Okay, so I assume or I think there's no question on this. I will then continue to the third session in terms of interview preparation. Okay. All right, so we have completed 2 sessions. The first one on CV writing, and the second one on job hunting using LinkedIn. Those two sessions, I'll give you a brief overview and try to show you some practicality of it, the practical session of it. So now I'll move you to the next session of interview preparation. Okay. So basically, in terms of when you are facing, when you are going out applying for internship or jobs later on, you need to know there are several types of assessments, tests and interview. So for example, you have a written test, essay and technical questions, you know. So I've encountered myself, there's many times that I'm being asked to take written test, either to write an essay on given topic or to answer certain technical questions. I've also done psychometric tests. You can Google what is psychometric test. And I also done personality test in the past. So those are in terms of test, and also assessment. And then in terms of interview, there are again many types of interview. It can be a phone interview, and then it can be also a video call interview. I think nowadays during pandemic for the past 1.5 years, I've noticed that, you know, company do a lot. Company are adapting or adopt video call as the primary means of interviewing candidates. So I've seen individual. I've seen, and I personally conduct a lot of individual video call interview. But also sometimes, you know, people wants to have the face-to-face session. So there's also individual or group face-to-face session interview. And lastly, for big companies like, you know, for Petronas, MISC, and many others, I personally have attended structured interview with MISC. Okay, so I will go through all of this shortly after this. Okay, so normally for interview, these are the, I would say, most frequently asked or common questions that people will ask, like, tell me about yourself, why do you want to leave your current job, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how do you describe yourself, how do you know about our company, why do you want to work for us, or why should I hire you. So this, and then and then they will try to understand more and more about you, you know. Then they will ask things like, what past accomplishment that gives you satisfaction, what makes you want to work hard, basically to understand your motivation, what type of working environment that you like the best, just to understand how you fit with them, why do you want this job, how do you handle pressure and stress, explain the situation, how you overcome a major obstacle, and then how do you see yourself in the 5, 10, 15 years from now. And then they ask what qualifies you for this job, and then why did you choose, you know, certain your college major and whatnot. So there's a lot of questions can be asked. You can just, again, like I said, go to the resources that I always rely on. For example, themuse.com. You can search common interview questions. So you will find a lot of it, and you can start practicing it to get yourself ready to go to an interview session. Okay, and I will now move to structured interview. Okay, so for structured interview format, there are a certain format. Normally, you know, there's a ice breaking. Then again, they will ask about your name, background, blah blah blah. So again, you will be in front of the people who might be your potential supervisor or hiring manager, etc. So make sure you concentrate on information that related to the job that you are applying. Okay, and then you will be given a case study on any topic. You know, normally you will be given 10-15 minutes to prepare for it, and given an answer and so that you will have clear idea about what it is. And then you just need to provide the most logical answer with good reasoning. You know, you might not have the answer for all, so don't worry, don't panic. Just give most logical answer with good reasoning, because basically interviewers just want to see your ability to provide justification to support your facts. Okay, and then role play. You also being given another case study for you to do the role play. For example, you are being a plant manager, you know, and the plant is having hard time in terms of safety, finance, and maintenance of the plant. So in this situation, I give you if a buyer wants to buy, what's your decision, sell or not, and whatnot. So I've seen also, I have myself encountered a few role play. So just again, when you do, make sure you know, again, they want to see how you answer, your logic, your reasoning, and how you stand firm with your answer. Okay, and then that's also again similar to any other interview Q&A session. If you have any questions that you would like to ask the interviewers. Okay. Huh? Oh, okay. And then in order to prepare for your interview, the tips normally, if you are attending interview, face-to-face interview, this will be my tips. You know, you just have to update your personnel file. Make sure you have the latest things you can bring to your interview. And then normally I personally make it a habit to print out 3 to 5 copies of my latest CV, so that, let's say, if it is online, I will make sure that I personally share my latest CV prior to the interview session. And then, you know, if it is a face-to-face interview, I normally bring along a pen and a small notebook, so that, you know, together with the file that I have updated, so that, let's say, if I need to take any notes, I can use, you know, the notebook together with the pen that I bring. I think it is important for you to come early to the interview, being it online or physical. Try to be available. If online, try to be available 10 to 15 minutes earlier. If it is physical, try to be there 20 to 30 minutes earlier. Okay. And then in terms of preparing for the interview sessions, you know, it is good that if you can study and understand the business in the company, in terms of the core business of the company, and then you study about the industry as well, the latest trend, the latest things about the market and whatnot. And then study and also understand the job scope of the position you are being interviewed for. And then it is important for all of you to learn to answer tell me about yourself in a very concise manner, in a very in a way that you answer it within 2 to 3 minutes, so that it set the context for the whole interview and set the context for the next questions that in the interviewer will ask. Okay, so in terms of answering this, again, you can refer to the Muse and also refer to Harvard Business Review. There's a lot of ways how you can answer the question of tell me about yourself. Later, I can also show you some example. But basically, it's about showcase your strengths and achievements. Okay. So you can also study common question for interviewers, and then you can also prepare yourself to ask to prepare the question that you should ask the interviewers. Okay, so at the end of the session, if it is a physical session, you can shake hand, or now because of MCO and social distancing, it's enough for you just to put your hands on your chest and then nod a bit. But important, once you have finished your interview, whether it's physical or online, is if possible to get the details of the interviewers, because normally sometimes or most of the time people who send you the interview invitation is normally the HR, sometimes even the HR officer or HR clerk or HR exec, but the one that is going to the interview most likely the HR manager or HR assistant manager, and who is the higher rank, and also the hiring manager, like if it is a finance position, maybe for the finance manager will be in. Why you need to get the contact details is because after the interview session, you want to make it a habit to send a thank you email within 24 hours after the interview session, whereby you can use the thank you email to recap about the interview and thanking the interviewer for their time interviewing you. Okay. All right. So that's all in terms of interview preparation. I now open the sessions. I think it's good if I can have lots of questions from all of you, because I do not know what do you have in mind. So best if you can ask a lot of questions, and you can ask questions pertaining to either session 1, session 2, or session 3 that we have completed. So now I open the Q&A session to the floor.
If anyone wants to ask their own questions, you can unmute your microphone. Sir, there one question about second session about LinkedIn.
Okay.
From YouTube Live.
Okay.
Sir, if the job is about Islamic, such as halal officer, etc., can we use LinkedIn too?
Can you use LinkedIn?
Yeah.
The question, I do not have answer for that, but we can try here. Any example of job title that you want to find? Halal executive, for example. Is it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is what keluar when it comes to halal executive. Maybe not much related, but like laboratory executive, it is definitely is related to halal. Then there's things like that inside it. So if you ask me whether it is related ataupun tak, you need to really find you really need to look into that. See, GMP come halal executive. I think there are many more and more companies have started to go into LinkedIn to find talents, because they know that this is the place where talents, kebanyakan talents berada. So I do not have answer for all the job titles, whether the job kebanyakannya ada ke tak. So you can test for yourself. But more important, if you ask me, for example, if you let's say, I give, let's take this an example. Okay, this is where I will impart a little bit of knowledge and tricks to you. For example, taking into account that ambil contoh, you ada just imagine that this is halal executive at Sanofi, right? So you want to apply, but you want to also connect with people from Sanofi. What you can do, you can, for example, search HR. Okay, and then what you can do, you can find people And then how you can then filter adalah you can filter by example, I'm just going to give it a try. For example, Sanofi. So basically you want to connect with HR from Sanofi, correct? So unfortunately dekat ada tak? Dan you want to find location Malaysia, for example. Ni kita nak test je ada ke tak. So ada. So this is how this is then again how you just imagine kalau you on Job Street or Job Store or Mau Kerja ataupun Whoop ataupun Indeed ataupun Monster or whatever, Glassdoor and many more other job portal or job channel that you are using, but you know the name of the company, yes, you can apply using that particular channel, but why don't you use LinkedIn to connect with the right people who are basically in the company, right? Dengan by connecting with these people, for example, you are slightly closer to the person in the company as compared to the general candidate who do not have the idea macam mana nak menggunakan LinkedIn to help you get the job. Boleh faham tak apa yang saya sampaikan ni? Anyone? Siapa yang faham boleh tak? Okay, right? So that's how I have done it in the past. For example, I give you example. Macam mana saya nak bagi example Sekejap. Okay. Saya dah jumpa. Okay. So ini cerita lama. Alright. So back then I noticed that there's a job posted by PwC, and I quickly connect with this person from Ken from LinkedIn. Bila I connect, okay, let's see Ken. This is what I mean by real example that I want to give. Let's see Ken Tan. Okay, alright. This is Ken Tan. So that important for you to connect as your first connection because you can get the contact info. Bila you dapat contact info, one of the thing you dapat adalah you dapat email address. So rather than just apply on the job portal either on LinkedIn ataupun dekat JobStreet and whatever, you can try to find who is the recruiter and or who is the hiring manager or who is the HR person. And by doing so, bila you dah dapat, this is what I did back then in 2015. Ni 6 tahun lepas punya cerita. So see the same email, right? So I hantar apply macam ni, at least you get a response. You know, ini I minta tolong another person dalam tu, but at least I get a response from Ken Tan. Because nowadays, again lah, maybe many of you belum start job hunting. Many people nowadays to get even a response for their email is also difficult, or for their job application is also almost non-existent. But at least macam ni, I dapat a phone call daripada Ken Tan. So that's how you can be proactive in applying for jobs. And using LinkedIn to your advantage, because you akan dapat directly the person yang bekerja dekat company tu. Alright? Clear?
Yes.
Alright.
So clear.
Any other questions?
And the next question from Haikal. Do we need to have LinkedIn now or when we are in our first year of our study?
You guys now in what year? Ke foundation lagi?
Because we are foundation. We are still in foundation.
Oh, okay. If you ask me, there's no issue when you want to have LinkedIn, but I think the faster you get on LinkedIn, the faster you really understand how LinkedIn works, right? Because you can't just learn the theory tapi tak praktikkan lah. Macam you now belajar from me how to do LinkedIn, tapi you simpan je tak buat apa-apa. Nanti dah nak internship baru terhege-hege nak buat LinkedIn. Masa tu mungkin things dah change also, dah evolve. So that's how I see it. I mean, take time. You can, because nowadays if people can sign up, if youngsters can sign up for many other things like TikTok, Facebook, IG, and so on and so forth, why don't you also sign up for LinkedIn? Something that you will definitely use in your future career. If that answers your question, right? There's nothing wrong to start early. Okay, any other questions?
The next question from Shafika from YouTube Live. So usually what factors that lead to us to not to get the job in terms of resume and CV perspective?
Sorry, come again, the question?
Usually what factors that lead to us that not get the job in terms of resume and CV perspective?
Oh, normally CV from perspective of CV and resume, you won't get, it is not about getting the job, it is about getting the interview. But normally you won't get the job during the interview if you do not perform during the interview. So the process is that you apply for jobs, people will screen and call you for interview based on your CV. So the question tu, I think I nak betulkan sikit that normally your CV will determine whether you are being called for interview or not about you will get the job or not, right? But normally your interview will determine whether you will get the job ataupun tak. So dia ada two steps. CV will help you get the job interview. Your performance during the job interview will help you to get the job. Alright? So I will explain both to make it easy. A good CV will definitely help you to get a job interview. A well-structured, a well-written CV will definitely attract the recruiter and hiring manager to call you for an interview. Okay. Once you dah been called for an interview session, normally orang kita kata sebelah kaki dah ada lah. Tinggal tunggu sebelah kaki je lagi nak bagi dapat. Okay. Bila dipanggil interview, when you are being called for interview, normally people already satisfied that at least you meet the minimum requirements for the particular job. Okay? People won't call you saja-saja je panggil interview, tak. You know, normally you are being called for interview if you meet certain requirements. Okay. So the one that determine whether you will being called for interview ataupun tak is your performance must interview. I have seen a lot, not just fresh graduates, not for internship, and not just, I mean, many people, you know, they come to interview not prepared at all. Even last month, you know, I interview candidates, experienced professionals who are not prepared at all. The person do not know anything about the company, do not clear about the role, do not know about, cannot recall much about the industry or the latest news or the current business of the company. So the key to a successful getting the job offer is being prepared for the interview. I can't emphasize enough how important for all of you to prepare for interview. Do not take it lightly. I personally, kalau being called for interview, I will spend a few days, you know, prior to the interview to really study about the company, about my own CV, how I want. I will start visualizing how I would go through the interview session, how the way I will structure my answer, and so on and so forth. So to answer you, CV, from CV resume perspective, it will help you to get the job interview. But the one that will help you to get the job is normally your performance during interview, not the CV itself. It can be a slightly a contribution of your CV, but largely due to your performance during interview that will get you a job offer. Okay, next.
Next from Nurin Iman. Salam sir, what can we do to follow up after the interview?
So normally after the interview session, during the interview sessions, if being asked by the interviewer, do you have any other questions? You can ask many questions such as, you know, about the culture, about the team, about the role, about the company, and many other questions. Again, you can Google and search about it. But one of the questions that you should ask and never forget to ask, may I know the next steps following this interview? Okay, because that will help to firm up what the next step that will happen after the interview. So if the interview tadi kata ada lagi 2 stage, so or ada lagi 3 stage, or dia kata dia perlukan seminggu, 2 minggu, 3 minggu, 4 minggu, sebulan to get back to you. So you hold them through to that. For example, let's say that we are currently interviewing a few more candidates. We will only be able to get back to you in another 2 to 3 weeks. So you hold him or her through to that statement, so you can follow. So there are a few ways you can follow up. One, after the interview session, immediately send a thank you email. And then if they say during the interview dia kata 2 minggu lagi boleh follow up, so mark your calendar and set a reminder that after 2 weeks you can send a follow up follow up email to ask for the status. Okay, and then after that, normally after dia dah given certain period of time, you can still follow up every, for example, I would say for the first 2 to 4 follow ups, you can make it every fortnightly. Or after 4 weeks, you can make it even 1 month, because normally and then you can set after 3 months, if they are still silent, it means that you do not get the job, and you can move on. So always make that as a practice. Hantar thank you email 24 hours after the interview session, and within the time that they stated how long they need to get back to you is either 1 week or 2 weeks. Send the first follow up after according to the time that they have given to you, and then another follow up emails can be sent every fortnightly for the first 1 month, and then once you dah masuk the second month, just send 1 follow up email every month up until maybe the 3rd month. I think that should be sufficient. Okay.
Next question from Nazif. Boleh ke riak masa interview?
So soalan dia, the question, it is not about riak ataupun tak. It is about showcasing the best about you during the interview sessions. So you want to showcase the best about you in terms of your strengths, in terms of your competencies, in terms of your achievements. Because if you don't tell, ataupun if you tak riak, ataupun you tak elaborate, how would people know, right? So it is not much about riak. It is more about showcasing yourself in terms of your strengths, competencies, achievement, and so on. Okay.
Okay. Next question from Harith Farhan. Is LinkedIn essential for government workers?
I don't think that it is essential, but I think there are, again, more and more people coming and establishing their profile on LinkedIn, including people who works in the government sector. So it tells you something, right? When more and more government officers are also having their presence on LinkedIn, because again, LinkedIn is like your orang kata your CV bergerak, CV online. People can easily find you on LinkedIn. So why not having a profile on LinkedIn that many people can view you? When you have 660 million users globally on LinkedIn, and you have 5 million users in Malaysia on LinkedIn, I don't think you want to miss the boat, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other question?
Yes. From Ahna Aliani. Does our university influence our employability? How can we outshine other candidates, especially overseas graduates?
I came from a local university, so for me it's really up to you yourself, your attitude, how you carry yourself, how do you make sure you write a very good CV, how you perform during interview. I think that all that matters. Kenapa? Okay, I share with you kenapa kenapa big companies sometimes look for overseas graduate? And this is the I would say the tips or the secrets, because when bila you pergi study overseas, you punya world view berbeza, you punya perspektif berbeza, the way you see things berbeza. The way you see things berbeza. Sekejap tolong potong kan? Dia nak potong. Ni bukan ni. Air Milo ni. Ni dia nak potong. Ambil dalam tu. Sorry. Ambil dengan Nazif. Okay, so what, sorry, nak saya kacau. So basically kenapa why companies are looking for overseas graduate adalah is because they are being exposed to different stuff throughout their study, you know, because overseas graduate have to be for example, you know, they have to be more independent, you know, they mix with people from different countries, different upbringing and whatnot. So by having candidates ataupun new hire from overseas graduate, you know, they are basically hiring for the different perspective, different thought process, the way and different the way of how they see things. So you can still compete with overseas graduates if you possess the same or similar set of qualities. So I the past a few years I have coached terbalik tu Nazif. The past few years I've coached a local graduate who studied degree and master's degree from UPM and got a job with ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil is an oil and gas company known to hire a candidate from overseas. But for her intake, there are about, I think if I'm not mistaken, she told me there are 10 people for her intake that ExxonMobil hire. 8 are overseas graduate and 2 are local graduates. So what I'm telling you is that regardless from which university you graduated, I think the one that matters is always attitude. Either fresh graduates or experienced professional. But normally for experienced professional, it is about attitude plus the experience. But for fresh graduate, it is always about the attitude. How prepared are you? How prepared you are coming to the interview? How do you really answer the interview questions? Again, it's about preparation, right? So in order to stand out, for me, it is how you carry yourself during the interview session. Okay, I hope I answered the questions. And in order to shine is again, it's just about being prepared, and you know, have the confidence, because many people that I see. So there are the two aspects lah, how you want to outshine from other candidates. Your CV needs to be prepared very thoroughly, concisely, and tell the best about you. And during interview, it is about having the confidence in answering all the interview questions. And how you can be confident is by having enough preparation. Okay.
Okay. The next question from Atika Nabila. Sir, how can we make good first impression during interview?
How can you make a good first impression during interview? First kali jangan menangis masa interview. Sebab banyak je candidate menangis masa interview. Jangan menangis atau jangan nervous lah. Okay. But basically, how to make a good first impression? Again, macam I cakap, come early to the interview, whether it's physical interview or online interview. Make sure you apply logic and common sense. For example, kalau online interview, janganlah ambil online interview dekat tempat yang bising, because during pandemic, I banyak interview candidates ambil dekat cafe lah, ambil dekat tempat yang ada a lot of background noise and sebagainya. Tapi macam saya tak boleh nak buat apa kan. Saya minta maaf anak saya dengan kacau saya. Okay. So try to avoid any interruption during the interview session, you know, which you can definitely arrange. And then make sure you have a stable internet connection and whatnot. But at the end of the day, kalau either online or physical interview, how you can make a good first impression adalah dengan well prepared, you know, dress nicely, and then smile, greet people appropriately, and then make sure you are able to answer the questions in a way that you know, interviewer boleh dapat apa yang dia nak cari daripada you lah. So basically be elaborative in answering your interview questions. Be elaborative, try to elaborate more, try to allow people to understand what you have done so far. Go for interview with the aim to share, because many candidates pergi interview dia macam nak pergi berperang ataupun pergi war. Jadi bila dia pergi interview memang dia tak perform. Kenapa tak perform? Sebab dia takut dia fail the interview. Why you want to fear for something you are not sure, yang belum berlaku lagi, right? Why you want to be scared or fear of something that is not happening yet? So rather than have the mindset, because again it is all about mindset and mentality lah. Rather than being scared and being fear that you will fail, why don't go for the interviews thinking that you will be successful? You will just go there to present the best of you and to share everything and anything and everything that you do, that you know. So dengan pergi interview dengan cara macam tu, I believe you and with dengan senyum throughout, I mean with a lot of smiles, I think you akan nampak lebih confident bila you bercakap dengan projection suara yang bagus. You again akan nampak lebih confidence, and confidence ni memang can easily be seen during the interview sessions, because dalam interview session it's not just about the verbal communications, the non-verbal, you punya face reaction, you punya face expression, you punya tangan, you punya bahu, the way you punya eye contact dengan interviewers, tu semua memainkan peranan, and that can tell us a lot about whether you have the confidence ataupun tak. So how to create first impression is a combination all of that, preparation, because preparation akan lead to you being confident, and then confidence can be seen through you verbal and non-verbal body language punya expression lah. Okay.
The next question from Wan Aisha. Sir, I have one. What can we do right now as we are still in foundation to gain any specific skills or specialties that are useful for applying the job?
You can again, this is how I utilize my time when masa zaman university. I'm not the genius or the smartest kids but what I do, I really know, I really know what I want, in the sense that, you know, I want the experience, because experience ni adalah benda yang mahal, yang, you know, yang tak boleh dibeli dengan duit lah. So throughout my study, I banyak bekerja part time. I pernah kerja dengan apparel company called Giordano. I pernah kerja dekat Giordano Kota Damansara. I pernah kerja dengan food chain masa habis matrik, kerja dekat kitchen dia. And I pernah kerja dekat another restaurant, jadi dia punya waiter. So what I'm saying is that throughout your study, try to work part time or do freelance or do anything that you can do to it's not about money masa study ni, but it's about experience, because experience that you gain akan membentuk cara you berfikir. Dan bila dia membentuk cara you berfikir, you memang akan lagi cepat matang as compared to people of your of your age. So for if you tengah belajar ekonomi, finance, accounts, you can always offer your help untuk, for example, you can find people and offer them to do bookkeeping for their online business. You can do that, and maybe they orang boleh upah you untuk bayar you certain amount of money. So all of that you can be proactive. It's about offering yourself. Maybe you can start as a pro bono. Bila you dah ada experience sikit, you boleh then sell yourself or your service, and that's how you gain experience through freelancing or by doing pro bono freelancing, or even through volunteerism. There are many NGOs that require volunteer. You can also volunteer, either volunteer dengan do the field work or volunteer untuk help out for example the account and finance department. There are many more. You can make yourself useful and gain experience and maybe earn money while doing that. So that's my tips in terms of how you can prepare yourself for the job market in the future.
And
Any other?
the last question, inshallah, from Hafizuddin, what
Okay.
is the least likable characteristic of a candidate?
Least what?
Least likable, kiranya perangai macam orang tak suka macam tu. Least likable characteristic.
Least likable. I personally think it is not about whether the person akan like you as an individual ataupun tak, but dia akan gauge benda-benda yang berkaitan dengan kerja. So least likable ni can be maybe for example, I give you an example. You nak apply position customer service, tapi you senyum dan bercakap pun susah. Macam mana you nak being hired for customer service position kalau senyum pun tak boleh, berat mulut. When customer service is about kalau customer service yang people facing, akan banyak interact. So senyum, greetings tu adalah benda yang perlu. So itu contoh dia lah. So least likable ni is basically if you are doing the opposite of what the job requires you to do. But in overall, kalau you datang interview unprepared, you tak confidence, you tak bercakap, you gugup, you gemuruh, itu semua benda-benda yang akan contribute kepada you are not being treated as a successful candidate ataupun be seen as a least likable candidate lah. Okay.
So inshallah that's all for Q&A session.
Okay, alright.
Thank you again, Mr. Amir Azrai, for answering all the questions and for the great sharing. It was a pleasure to have you with us today. I hope you all enjoyed this session. So with the end of Q&A session, this webinar has come to an end. Thank you all for attending. We hope you guys have learned a lot, and hopefully all the inputs that we gain in this session can be applied for future undertakings. Sorry for any inconvenience in my part and from Bureau Welfare.
Ada group foto ke?
Ada. Before we end, we have a photo session, and QR code for the attendance will be given after the photo session. Thank you, and good luck for our future endeavors.
This is my contact details. Should you need to connect with me, there's my email address, my mobile number, my WhatsApp number, and my LinkedIn profile. Okay.
Tak semua buka kamera semua nak tengok aku ambil gambar.
lupa pula nak unmute my mic. Boleh buka mic dulu. Sorry, boleh buka you punya video dulu so that boleh nampak you punya muka lah. Lupa pula nak unmute. For a while only. Nak ambil gambar sahaja.
And then after habis gambar ni ada ni tau attendance punya QR code, so don't leave yet.
Don't leave yet. Kita akan bagi QR code.
Nanti tak dapat star point kalau tak isi.
Dah ke?
Can we have more faces dalam ni? Or maybe they are sleeping, I think. I think so. Najwa, Christina, Ifa,
Ajmal,
Ajmal,
buka
Amsha.
kamera.
Can you switch on your camera for a while only?
Tak boleh buka pun.
3 saat je.
Yeah.
Tak boleh buka. Host.
Oh, kejap. Wait. Tak, okay je. Kejap. Okay. Wait ke? Boleh ke? Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. Oh. Nampak. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Haziq, Iza, Fatini, Anisha Hira. Can we see your face? Auni Shakira.
Haziq, Ajmal.
Don't ask for girls to open. Maybe they don't wear hijab, is it?
Alia Damira. Okay. Boleh ke? Ini Shakira, Adriana, Haziq, Ajmal.
Alright.
Boleh Boleh je lah. Okay.
Nak tanya.
Cakap 3, 2, 1 yang ambil gambar tu.
Okay, ready semua. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Okay, for the next ni. Okay, 1, 2, sekejap. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, then.
Thank you everyone. Selamat berbuka puasa later. Thanks for having me and hope keep in touch and good luck for your study.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Attendance form?
Wait. Alright,
you
don't
pun
leave
also,
yet. I
thank
will
you.
share the QR code screen.
Thank you, sir.
Alright, wait. So you guys can scan this QR code to fill up the registration form, the attendance form.
To get star points.
If there is any problem, you guys can just state in the chat box. I'll share this QR code maybe around 2 minutes more, so you guys can hurry up. Oh, ambil kau hurry up.
Patut dengar.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you everyone. Tapi siapa yang dah scan boleh keluar. Wait. Thank you.
So you guys done? I hope you guys dah done. No, not yet. Do you guys fill the form? Dah.